I had the craziest dream last night about a girl who was turned into a swan. She needs love to break the spell, but her prince falls for the wrong girl, and she kills herself. The first time Darren Aronofsky and I talked about the film was almost 10 years ago. It was in 2000. It was like 8 years before we started getting the film together. And he really had a strong idea of what the movie would be about. So I was excited at the prospect of working with him. I was excited at the prospect of doing something in the dance world, which is a world I had always really, really loved since I was little.
I think the first assignment I had when I was a film student was to do a character study, and they gave us one roll of film and we just followed a guy around. And so I think since then I've been kind of doing portrait films on characters, and I kind of like the power of film to make you, pull you into the emotions of a character. And so, I mean, I'm really interested in having, the audience take a trip with Natalie Portman and really be inside her character's head and understand what it is to be a dancer.
I felt more in tune with Darren, our director, than I think I've ever felt with any director before. I think, first of all, because it was such an athletic ordeal for both of us, physically and emotionally, to do this very fast, very low budget shoot, kind of no frills, where every scene was incredibly hard and incredibly important to the film.
Watch the way she moves. Imprecise, but effortless. She's not faking it.
He gave you all the freedom in the world. That's what I really think makes him a great director, is he ultimately hires actors that he trusts. And so when we shot it every which way. Sometimes we shot it a little deceitful, sometimes we shot it honest, sometimes we shot it a little mean, sometimes we shot it a little nice, sometimes we shot it a little sarcastic, sometimes we shot it funny. I mean, it was pretty much every which way.
It gives you a lot of freedom, meaning that you can come up with ideas. He's very open to everything. But I think he pretty much had the pace of the movie in his head before we started.
When you watch ballet, it's actually very gothic. And, the ballets themselves are fairy tales, and they're often very dark takes, from Romeo and Juliet to Swan Lake to Sleeping Beauty. So I wanted to kind of capture that melodrama and that fairy tale and the scariness. And you look at Swan Lake itself, it's a story of it's a werewolf story. It's about a girl who's transformed into a half-human, half-swan. And so I wanted to transform Natalie Portman into a creature.
I knew that I was in for a lot of work, and I was excited to start the training. I had a full year ahead of me. You're concentrating so much on just getting it right that it is a big challenge to stay in character, and even just the simplest things like keeping your mouth closed, just to make it look nice, the way that dancers have to learn how to do that when they're doing something really difficult. They have to make it look effortless, so you also have to, be smiling and make it look like it's fun and easy and light, even though it's, tearing your body apart.
I knew nothing about ballet. Nothing. I didn't know very much about it on stage or behind stage. I knew nothing. So for me, it was all a massive learning experience. But I think that why this movie is so interesting is because, you look at the ballet on stage and it's beautiful. It's like an art form. It's almost like watching a painting being unraveled before your eyes, but nobody really cares to see what truly happens behind closed doors. And maybe it's not so much people don't care, it's that the ballet world doesn't want you to know how truly complex it is, and how much the ballet dancers, how much pain they're actually in, and how much they have to sacrifice their bodies to produce this beautiful art for people's entertainment. So I think that that's what this movie's about. It's about everything that somebody goes through in order to give you that 5 minutes worth of beauty on stage.
You really understand the lifestyle of someone who has to do this for 20 years to become good. And, you know, I did it for 1 year. And to not go out with your friends, not drink, not eat very much, you know, barely sleep, and just spend all of your time training and working physically and trying for this perfection was really informative.
Want to be perfect.
Perfection is not just about control. It's also about letting go. Surprise yourself so you can surprise the audience. Transcendence. And very few have it in them.
I think I do have it.
Ah! You bit me? I can't believe you bit me.
I'm sorry.
It's very easy to work with Natalie. She's very instinctive, you know, and stuff like that. So, no, it was great, honestly. And plus, we had some scenes that, well, you know, it's not that it's rough, but like all those like sensual moments and stuff. You know, if the actress is not in the mood, then as an actor, you're in trouble, you know. But she was always like easy to go, you know.
Come on, Nina, he's brilliant. Sure. But it's not like he's all warm and fuzzy.
Well, you don't know it.
Someone's hot for teacher. Oh, come on, it's okay. I don't blame you.
I should go home.
Oh, Nina, come on, I'm just playing around.
I mean, the psychological aspect of it was I was always in pain, so that helped. My feet always hurt, and I was tired a lot. But other than that, no, it was mostly just the physicality of it helps the character always, because once you find a walk for the character and once you find out the way your character talks and holds herself, it always kind of bleeds onto the rest of it.
Dancers just hold themselves so differently than, you know, other people. They've been, you know, training since they were 4 years old, and their bodies actually physically transform. So they walk different, they hold their heads different. So, you know, reminding the dancers and Vincent to move like a dancer, I think helped them.
I did train a lot when I was younger as a dancer, as a ballet dancer actually, for 6 or 7 years. So I remember the pain, the smell of the studio. You know, so to come back to it wasn't really hard, but still I went back to the classes, you know, and to stretch the legs and to get back to that kind of physicality. And but I guess the most important thing was to watch people work, really. I had the opportunity to watch for a brief moment, 45 minutes, Mikhail Baryshnikov working with a young dancer in Paris, just giving him tips. And that was great for me to see that.
The ballet world's extremely competitive. And, you know, it's so competitive that it's almost a cliche about how competitive it is. But it is. You know, there's artistic directors that are extremely domineering, but there is a lot of competition.
Beth? I'm so sorry to hear you're leaving the company.
What'd you do to get this role? He always said you were such a frigid little girl. What did you do to make him change his mind?
What's going on here?
Hey, I need to talk to you.
In terms of figuring out the film's reality, there's a lot of scenes that you're not sure if they're real or not. But for me, she believes everything that's happening. So for me, everything is real. You know, obviously there are moments where she doubts that sort of after the fact, but it was pretty straightforward as to what was going on.
That was a challenge every day. How much to give away, you know, and how much will an audience pick up on? And, you know, we went down to like sort of frame theory, like how many frames of seeing the double we should allow and at what point it should start to move. It was just a lot of work, and it was just a balance. And I think, you know, that's this type of stuff you figure out in post as you start playing with the effects and you go, okay, well, that's too much. We can see her too much there. Let's darken it up, or let's move the timing around a little bit. But, you know, that's just part of the process.
Face front. We're almost done.
I think you can feel a lot of different emotions with this movie, you know, but it's scarier and sexier than what I thought it would be.
What's she doing here?
He made me your alternate.
We always wanted to scare the hell out of the audience. I mean, it was kind of, I guess it's my version of a horror film, the closest I can get to that genre. I think it's a bit more psychological than that, or what people perceive as horror these days. It's more just kind of a trippy, sexy journey into a girl's melting mind.